Day 6 of giving the middle finger to the algorithm. Why? Because I can. It's really that simple. Today we're going to do a little workout together, specifically grip strength. And grip strength, by my opinion, is probably one of the more overlooked or forgotten about elements of training. And it doesn't matter whether you're trying to lose weight, whether you're bodybuilding, whether you're strength training, whether you're rock climbing. Rock climbers do a lot of grip strength. That was a bad example. Or whether it's just general health and well-being, the health and condition of your hands, your fingers, your wrists, your forearms, and your elbows is your connection with the world, because you put your hands on everything that you interact with. It's certainly not something that I forget about training, and maybe you'll learn a few little bits, but also the big tie-in, with grip strength and it kind of being this like forgotten about, abandoned member of the family is akin to the work that people forget about themselves that helps them interact in the world, that connection piece. So like grip strength is this in, the workout and the training world, working on this mindset, belief, your identity, that is the forgotten about child, ancestor, person in the family, inside of business, inside of career, inside of life, fulfillment, happiness. And if you forget to train your mindset, if you forget to work on identity, or maybe you've just never done those things, because sometimes, a lot of the times over the years, because I've been a personal trainer as well, helped people lose a ton of weight, get in the best shapes of their lives, but no one had ever done any grip strength training specifically. And I could go on a whole different tangent about the difference between looking good and then actually being useful and being utilitarian in the world. Grip strength is one of those things of where, if you're a bloke, your hands are definitely going to look bigger. They're going to look meatier, sexier. You could probably sell some pictures on that famous site to some perverts. But the usefulness of having stronger grip carries through absolutely everything that you do. Just like if you work on your mindset and your self-belief and your identity, that carries through everything as well. Because remember, kids, how we do one thing is how we do everything. So let's get lubed up here. This little drink is nothing special, by the way, although it's looking rather blue like Smurf piss. There's a little bit of hydration, electrolytes, a little scoop of creatine, and also I think it's a trained by JP, like pump product. So there's no caffeine in this, there's no stimulants. And as you would expect with anything that's that level and colour of blue, yes, it tastes like goblin piss. First thing I'm going to do is warm up, by the way. So if I'm just like, there you go, you can have that little bit of fudge if you want to do something weird with it. But why is it so important to work on mindset? Why is it so important to work on your belief system and your identity? Well, I'll give you a few different angles and a few different perspectives and personal experience on this one, as well as people that we've helped, that we've coached, that we've trained, interacted with, come into contact with over the years. When I say we, if this is the first video you're ever watching, by the way, I'd recommend you go back. And did I say day 7? I can't remember if I said day 7. Day 6 of giving the middle finger. I actually now can't remember if I said day 7. Day 6 of giving the middle finger. Day 7. Can I put this in? Day 7 of giving the middle finger to the algorithm. My first real awareness around the importance of mindset, mental strength. Oh, that's a good noise. Was when I joined the military. Like, I am not the fittest person in the world. I never was. However, where I pipped a lot of guys out, not necessarily just in the military, but then when I left, and also I realized beforehand as well, and then this has been useful as I've moved through different parts of life, is my belief in myself, my self-held identity, and then the things that I've worked on that were maybe eating away at that core strength of myself. Well, the big thing straight away that you're taught in the military is that if you don't believe in what you're a part of and what you're doing, then that's basically going to destroy anything that you come into contact with. The usefulness of this in the military is that, if you don't believe in your mission, you don't believe in your people around you, and you certainly don't have the confidence in yourself, then you're not going to achieve anything. It's really important that you do this movement the opposite way. When people think about grip strength, they think about closing their hands and squeezing things. You can just use basic elastic bands for this. You can, get, cheap rubber bands that you can put around your fingers from Amazon. I like the Iron Mind kit. I've always used a lot of Iron Mind stuff over the years, since I was probably about 15. Doing this particular exercise helps with elbow pain. It's a little bit like, think about if you just trained your chest, like at the front of your body, and you never trained your back, so you're always just pushing, then there'd be an imbalance, right? Like half of your body would be stronger than the other. Like if you just trained your bicep but not your tricep, eventually there becomes like a breakdown in the chain of movement. So it's the same with your grip strength. Like if all you're ever doing is squeezing things in this fashion, but you're never working the extensors out in this way, then people tend to get a lot of elbow pain and elbow injuries. So really important, try not to be personal trainer rich right now, Sergeant Major Fitness, but make sure you put some of these bad boys into your grip strength training regime. So yeah, the core and the fundamental basis, in basic training is to move you into the mindset of being a soldier, of being a part of an institution. And a huge pocket of that sits inside of what you believe about yourself, your confidence, how you hold yourself, how you move through your day, your level of purpose, your level of belonging. And if you remove the environment of the military out of what I'm saying and just plonk that into everyday life, maybe into your career, maybe into your relationship, maybe into your business if you're a business owner, it's relevant everywhere. Like if you believe you are not lovable, or that you don't have the confidence, to make a move on your wife or to make a move on attaining a new partner, then guess what? You just won't do it. You won't take the action. If that same thing about confidence and about approaching people is relevant inside of your business, then guess what? You're not going to do maybe the outreach or make those calls or send that email or write that post or make that fucking video. Again, advice would be, make sure you do the inverse. So closing a gripper, always get metal grippers as well. Well, unless you want to protect your hands a little bit. Like if you work on metal grippers all the time, then you tend to find that it roughs your hands up. And that's okay for some people. Now, closing a gripper in this way, the fingers that actually work the hardest, because they're at the ends of the leverage point, are your pinky and, what's this one called? Your ring finger. They're the ones that work the hardest to actually close the gripper. Like you can almost close the gripper with just those two fingers. I know you're focusing on my face right now. I might actually turn that off. Now, if you flip the gripper around and close it in this way, the two fingers that tend to work the hardest, you can almost do it with just your index finger and your middle finger. So this keeps a nice little balance on your grip strength. Well, at least for crush grip, because there's different types of grip strength. Just because someone is good at squeezing something like this doesn't necessarily make them good at opening jars. Will it help? Yes. So if you want to be a useful husband or a useful person in opening jars for your wife or whatever you do in life, then grip strength is really useful, but that it's not directly correlated. There's much better training things that you can do to open jars. So how do you know if you need to work on your mindset? Well, that's a you thing. That's something that you have to decide personally. It's not up to anybody else. It's not down to their judgment. And then how do you self-assess? I think you've got to ask yourself a few base questions. First question I would ask myself would be, what are my goals? What are my desires? Like what's the thing that I'm aiming towards? What's my purpose? Why am I waking up each day? Second lot of questions for me personally, and perhaps what I'd ask you would be, do I feel currently equipped to be able to get to those places, to be able to achieve those goals, to be able to close the gap up on where I am right now and where I need to be or where I desire to be? A big realization for a lot of people when they start asking these questions is that they're not short of resources. They're not short of knowing of where they want to get to or their goals. Someone might tell me, I want to be more confident with my partner, with my wife, with my husband. I'd say, great. What creates more confidence? They'll say, well, doing the thing, actually acting upon the thought, acting upon the thing that I know will close the gap, and I'm doing lobster claws. I'll say, great, So why are you not doing it? I say, well, I don't know. And I say, I think you fucking do know why. Well, I'm afraid if I do that thing, then I'm going to get rejected. I'm going to get turned down. I'm going to feel silly for saying that thing. I'm like, that's interesting, right? Because you feel out of alignment with that version of yourself that does act in that way. So guess what? You are not that person. You do not believe right now that you can do those things. Maybe it's a business owner. Maybe they want to attain a certain amount of clients or make a certain amount of money within the next 3, 6 or 12 months. Remember to flip her over. I'll say, great, you know how much you want to make, you know where you want to get to, you know how many clients you want to have. I'll say, well, what's stopping you from achieving those things? What is stopping you from making that amount of money, attaining those amount of clients? They'll say, well, we need leads, or we need the ability to be able to sell better because we've already got a bunch of leads that are coming in. And I'll say, great, you know this. And they say, yes, I've known this for a long time. And I'll say, great. Why haven't you acted upon this? I've not had the confidence to. I've not had the belief to. I don't know how to communicate in such a way. And I'll say, why? And they'll say, because I don't believe I am that person. I don't believe I can do that. I don't believe I have the time. Okay. So you are not that person. There's a theme, by the way. A lot of this ends up looping back to the identity of self, what we hold and believe about ourselves. Now, I know you're smart and you're realizing, yes, I'm understanding what you keep dancing around in this thing, Rich. It is absolutely necessary to break the current identity. It's not a bad thing, because if you want to experience change, if you want to experience something different to what you are currently experiencing, then you can't keep doing the same things. You have to do things different. And the current held version of you will keep doing things in the exact same fashion, the exact same ways, because that was what has built that version of you into the position that they hold right now. Fundamentally, there are two ways that you can change a person. I'm a fan of both. I use both. I've used both on myself. I continue to use both in both realms, self and when I work with people. Number one, brute force. Brute force is the primary mover in the military. Brute force is creating new habits. Brute force is doing things with repetition over and over and over and over again until there's a neurological rewiring, new pathways and closing down of old ones. And when you do things for long enough, under certain parameters for a certain amount of time, eventually there starts to become a narrative internally and externally that gets reinforced upon these things. So for example, if I get up every day and I go and get the newspaper from the corner shop every day, and I do that for the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, then I identify as a man that wakes up and gets the morning paper. And there are other little routines and other little rituals that I likely build in and around that particular habit. So I start to tell myself, I am that person, that's what I do. And then guess what? Everyone in the house, my family, my friends, the guy at the corner shop, they start to label me, whether they say it out loud or not, as the guy that gets up and goes and gets the morning paper. So then you get treated in alignment with the habits that you build. Brute force. Why do I call this brute force? Because often brute force requires some external voice, some external push, like in the military. And also it takes a bit of time. It takes some time to build upon these habits. Break down old walls, break down old habits and build new until there is a self-identified version of you that does those things or that does that one particular thing. It works. The downside quite often, with brute force methods of change inside of people is we're often battling against older habits that are more well established and also have stronger connections with what we believe about ourselves, internally held narratives, and also what the world tells us about the way that we do particular things. That's not a bad thing, but it can work against us if we're trying to drop some of those old things and rebuild new ones. Why it works so well in the military, the brute force way of doing things, is because people are in an enclosed environment, unaffected by, often like in boot camp and basic training, they're unaffected by the outside world. It's a highly controlled and concentrated environment of where, you can really change a fucking person in 10 to 12 weeks. And for the more elite military units, they can go on for 6 months plus inside of that tight environment. And I'll tell you, you feel unrecognizable even just after a few short weeks. If you can create that sort of concentrated environment, with yourself, in your business, in your home, have at it, because it's super fucking powerful. We'll use this roller for a couple of sets. But the second and the quickest way, at least in my experience, is working on somebody's subconscious mind. Accessing the subconscious mind and working on that in order to change yourself, in order to remove that stickiness of the old identity, or often actually break through. Breakthrough is used a lot, in the world of mindset and identity change. And all breakthrough means it's just breaking through a barrier that has stopped you from getting to the thing on the other side. Often glass ceilings are used in the analogy of breakthroughs, because you can see where you want to get to, but it's almost like this invisible force that stops you. And that can be really frustrating for people. Like, why is it every time I achieve a certain amount of success in my business or a certain amount of love and connection in my relationship, I do something subconsciously that sabotages the success, that has me held at that same amount of revenue, that has me held at that same amount of connection in my relationship? Maybe I create an argument and we fall out about something. I open my mouth and say something stupid. Maybe I don't take the right level of action to break through inside of the business. I get scared when I see that amount of money in the bank account. A breakthrough is when we push through those barriers. Ways to change and work on the subconscious mind. Number one, hypnosis. And this is where I'm either gonna gain a few of you or lose a few of you. And this is just by my own narrative and by my own standards. I'm not here championing, hypnosis and telling you to go and use people. I have used it myself, and my realization of why I knew it was going to be so powerful for me is because of the rhythmic retraining of the mind. A voice that is accessing a part of yourself when you're in your most relaxed state has been absolutely life-changing for me. There's probably enough studies to back what I'm saying now. It's not a necessary if you don't think it could work for you, but I would suggest, and I would say with hypnosis, that you personally have to be suggestible. You have to be open to the idea of it working. Like for me, the first time I got hypnotized, I sat down in the lady's chair and I was like, I want this. I know this is gonna fucking work. So it's almost I was looking for a catalyst to change what I knew was on the other side of that barrier. Maybe it was like a bit of permission. I don't know, but I definitely remember the big changes and the subtle changes that happened in the session, around it, and then thereafter. Meditation is another form of being able to access those parts of yourself when you're relaxed and retrain them. But I've tended to find people that combine both brute force and subconscious work get better results. I've definitely seen great results with clients and within myself of when we've applied like brute force and new habits. We've pushed through and we've worked with willpower and energy. Perfect. However, as soon as we combine a little bit of that like lazy person's work, because working on the subconscious mind is less hard work, it's easier. Because like with hypnosis, you just sit there, you go and see a person, a trained individual. Or even easier than that, you can buy audio tracks and you can just fall asleep listening to certain things. It's like literally zero effort. I'll talk about the science and the way the brain operates at a different time when it comes to working on the subconscious mind, because otherwise this is going to turn into a monster. So if I was trying to give you some advice today, if you would allow me to do so, start looking at yourself, the way you interact with the world, a little bit like how we've been talking about, grip strength training today. In most things that you train, if you're looking after your body, your hands and your grip and your fingers are going to come into contact with something, whether it's a piece of equipment, whether it's pulling or pushing yourself up off the ground. And then even if you're not training, you're using your hands and your grip, interact with the world around you, feed yourself, drink. In the same way, you as a person, what you believe about yourself, what you hold true, how you then communicate based on what you believe and how you project yourself, that moves through everything that you do in your life. Doesn't matter what business you have now. You might have a different business in 2, 5, 10 years time. The only thing that moves with you in that transition is you as the vessel, what you believe about yourself. Same in your relationship, same with what you can tell I get so fucking fired up about this, because if you want to have have a certain life, if you want to feel a certain way, if you want to, I don't know, maybe achieve huge financial success, if you want to have the best relationship, if you want to just be able to treat yourself in a healthy or a better way, all of that is locked up inside of who you believe you are, how you act inside of the world, how you interact with everything and everyone around you. And until you're able to acknowledge, well, this is what I believe about myself, this is how I label myself, this is how I introduce myself to everybody. And if you're not able to say, you know what, I love that you've gotten me this far, old identity, I deeply appreciate you, thank you so much. But I'm wanting different things now. I'm wanting to make more money. I'm wanting to have a better relationship with what I'm seeing in the mirror, with the people that I love, how I see the fucking world. Until you're able to have that conversation and kind of let them know, guess what? We're going to have to kill you off. I'm going to have to cut your head off, stand on top of your body and give you a loving and ceremonious sign off. Until you're able to do that and kill off the old, you will not be able to bring in the new. Anyway, I'm going to finish off my grip strength training session. So I'll see you in the next one.